The story begins with a young girl in tears as one of her friends departs from the orphanage. A big man using fancy clothes arrives and declares that he will now be the new father of the boy. The boy is taken by the man and escorted into his luxurious car. As they drive away, the nun and the other children bid farewell, but as the car pulls away, the nun's expression darkens. She turns to the children and announces that it is time for their training. The children, without hesitation, draw their weapons and ready themselves for the next set of instructions. The nun turns to the young girl who had been crying earlier, telling her that she overdid it and should not act so dramatically. The girl, now calm and composed, agrees and dismisses her earlier tears as mere theatrics, as if nothing had happened. She proceeds to expel a prop from her nose, as if finishing a performance. The scene shifts to a priest, who begins explaining the nature of the children's upbringing. From the moment they are able to walk, they are trained rigorously under a specific set of disciplines. The priest is asked what these children are used for. He answers coolly, stating that these children are like computers, what they become depends on the parents or buyers who acquire them. In the car, the new father shows the boy a photograph of a man, telling him that this person is his target. As the priest continues his explanation about the children's training, he remarks that these kids would be incredibly dangerous if not for the strict rules they are taught to follow. These rules, called the 3 absolute principles, ensure the children obey their parents without question. While looking at the photograph, the boy suddenly informs his new father that a car is following them. The man, surprised by the boy's observation, dismisses it and commands him to focus on memorizing the target's face. The boy immediately complies, demonstrating the first principle: a parent's word is absolute. As the boy concentrates on the photo, the car following them speeds up and violently crashes into their vehicle. The impact sends their car tumbling, flipping over several times before landing upside down. Inside the wreck, both the man and the boy are injured. The boy, dazed but conscious, tries to check if his father is still alive by feeling for his heartbeat. This action reflects the second principle: children cannot use their power without the parents' permission. 2 armed men emerge from the car that crashed into them, approaching the overturned vehicle. The little boy exits the car, crying and pleading for help, claiming that his father isn't breathing. The 2 men, startled by the presence of a child, hesitate. They had not anticipated encountering a boy and momentarily consider taking him and leaving him somewhere safe. However, as one of the men steps closer, the boy swiftly grabs a shard of broken glass from the ground and stabs him in the neck. This action demonstrates the third and most critical principle: if a parent's safety is threatened, the child must ignore the previous 2 principles and act decisively to resolve the situation. With the man fatally wounded, the boy seizes his gun and hides behind the man's body, preparing for a counterattack. He loads the weapon quickly, takes aim, and executes a perfect headshot on the second man, neutralizing him. Meanwhile, back at the orphanage, the priest continues his explanation, showing a potential buyer a catalog of the children available for sale. However, when the client expresses interest in a particular child, the priest regretfully informs him that the boy is not available. This child, ranked as the number 1 on their list, possessed unparalleled abilities. He was an elite among elites but mysteriously disappeared. The priest explains that without a parent to give him commands, the child won't use his power, meaning he could be living a normal life, or possibly even dead. The story then shifts to a street fight. A boy named Hyunho is being punched hard in the stomach by a bully. Hyunho, gasping for air, tries to speak, and the bully taunts him, asking if he's trying to curse. Hyunho, in pain, says that the punch was worth 15 points, causing the group of boys to laugh and sarcastically congratulate their friend for earning those points. The situation escalates when another boy, wearing a white sweatshirt, asks how many points a kick would be worth, but before he can act, another boy shoves him aside, claiming it's his turn to play with Hyunho. This new bully threatens Hyunho with a punch, asking him how much it will score. The group of boys, mocking Hyunho, debates the point system until Sion, a blonde-haired boy standing further away, steps in and sarcastically praises the bully's skills. This irritates Joseph, the boy in the white sweatshirt, who threatens Sion and slaps him across the face. Sion, smiling through the pain, mocks Joseph by telling him that the slap is worth 150,000 points, claiming it's impressive for someone who came from abroad. Joseph, visibly irritated, walks away, telling Sion to fetch cigarettes and join them later. As Joseph and his gang leave, Sion mutters under his breath, vowing to have his revenge someday, though he admits that Joseph's manner of speaking is impressive. Hyunho, left behind, contemplates his relationship with Sion. Although he could probably defeat Sion in a fight, he refrains from doing so because Joseph is his friend. Now focused on Hyunho, Sion grabs him and threatens that today will be his last day. A few moments later, they are sitting in a restaurant, and Sion demands that Hyunho pay for his food. Hyunho hesitates, but eventually agrees, though clearly uncomfortable. Sion gives him a threatening look and questions why Hyunho is okay with paying when Joseph asks, but hesitates when it's him. Hyunho explains that it's because they are eating at his mother's restaurant, which is why the place bears his name. Overhearing the conversation, Hyunho's mother comes over and offers Sion another dish for free, assuming that he and her son are friends. Sion eats without hesitation, but Hyunho grows increasingly anxious about the consequences of someone like Sion knowing that his mother owns the restaurant. Sion pauses and, in a moment of mock sympathy, tells Hyunho that if it truly is his mother's restaurant, then he can't act like a stranger. Hyunho's heart races, sensing that something bad is about to happen. He pulls out a pen, ready to defend himself if needed. But to his surprise, Sion calls out to Hyunho's mother, politely bowing and apologizing for not greeting her earlier, claiming that he's a friend of her son. Hyunho is caught off guard, especially when his mother mentions that it was Hyunho who instructed her not to reveal their relationship to everyone. Sion continues by advising Hyunho not to do things like that, insinuating that hiding his relationship with his mother is unnecessary. Hyunho, now deeply uncomfortable, feels trapped in this awkward situation. He decides that it's best to leave before things get worse, telling his mother they need to go because their friends are waiting. His mother agrees but insists that they take some food for their friends. Hyunho tries to decline, but Sion eagerly accepts, taking advantage of the free offer. Hyunho's discomfort grows as his mother warmly declares that any friend of her son is like a child to her. Sion, smiling, thanks her, while Hyunho tries to keep his composure, silently begging Sion not to tell the others about his mother or her restaurant. Sion, with little sincerity, agrees and says goodbye to the madam. As they leave, Hyunho's mother kindly reminds Sion to bring his friends next time, to which he cheerfully responds that they will all be there. Once outside, Hyunho turns on his mother, yelling at her for her actions. His mother, confused and hurt, cowers and apologizes, explaining that she was just excited to meet one of his friends. Hyunho knows that yelling at her is wrong, but his frustration and fear overwhelm him, and he can't hold back. The scene then shifts to a disturbing discovery. Someone pulls a rag out of a dish from Hyunho's mother's restaurant and questions what it is. The person holding it is none other than Joseph, who had bought food from Hyunho's mother. Furious, he presses the rag against Hyunho's face, demanding a refund. Joseph threatens to tell Hyunho's mother about the incident if Hyunho doesn't comply. Hyunho's anger flares, especially at Sion, who had promised not to reveal anything about his mother's restaurant but clearly failed to keep that promise. Joseph, sensing Hyunho's frustration, asks him mockingly if they are friends. He says that if they are, they should get along. Joseph then pours the contents of the food bowl over Hyunho's head, humiliating him further. Hyunho, unable to take the abuse anymore, pulls out his pen, intent on stabbing Joseph in the neck. However, as he recalls the moment when his mother apologized to him, he hesitates and stops himself from going through with it. Joseph is initially surprised by Hyunho's reaction, but his expression quickly turns to anger. Shortly after, Sion arrives at the classroom looking for Hyunho. What he finds is a grim scene. The entire class sits in silence, the teacher and 2 police officers stand at the back of the room, and there's a pool of blood beneath a broken window. That day, Hyunho was beaten by Joseph for about 15 minutes. He passed out several times, but each time he regained consciousness, he apologized and begged his attacker. Everyone in the classroom heard what was happening, but no one dared to stop it. No one except Hyunho himself. The story continues in a small room where Joseph and his team are having a meeting. Joseph suggests it would be a good idea if his friends claimed they were just playing with Hyunho and accidentally pushed him out, leaving Joseph uninvolved. The group feels uneasy about the idea, but Joseph insists, explaining that there is a good law in Korea called the Juvenile Act that would protect them. Since Joseph isn't from Korea, it doesn't apply to him, but it could protect them. He reassures them that if they take the blame, there won't be any problems. One guy mentions the risk of getting sued, but Joseph has a solution for that. If there's no one to file a lawsuit, then there's no risk. He also doesn't expect their help for free. He offers 10 million won per person. If everyone agrees, the next step is finding where Hyunho's mother lives. Night falls, and we see Hyunho's mother crying alone over her son. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the building, Joseph and his friends are preparing to carry out their plan. Hyunho's house is on the 5th floor. They try the elevator, but it's not working. It seems to be stuck on the 5th floor as well. So, Joseph tells his group that they'll take the stairs. When they reach the 5th floor, they find a fire extinguisher blocking the elevator doors, preventing it from moving. Joseph is surprised, but before he can react, someone greets them from the darkness, sitting on the stairs. It looks like he's been waiting for them for a while. The person on the stairs is none other than Park Sion. Joseph immediately recognizes him. One of Joseph's guys is happy to see Sion and invites him to join them, but Sion ignores him and says he just wants them to answer 2 questions. First, how did Joseph find out about Hyunho's restaurant? Joseph replies that he was curious about why Sion was with neighborhood kids instead of bringing the cigarettes. He happened to see Hyunho arguing with his mom in front of the restaurant and put 2 and 2 together. Sion then asks the second question but warns Joseph to answer carefully. What are they doing here? Holding a pipe in his hand, Joseph says they've come to visit Hyunho's mom because of the lawsuit against them. He adds that it's good Sion is here now because he's been bothering him for too long. Did Sion really think Joseph hadn't noticed he was pretending to bully Hyunho while actually protecting him? Maybe he thought Joseph was too stupid to see through it. Sion replies calmly, saying that's enough for him. He grabs the fire extinguisher, but as he stands up, Joseph charges at him. Sion thanks him for confirming his suspicions and then removes the safety pin from the extinguisher, spraying it at them. The blast hits them in the face and a thick fog starts to form. Joseph orders his guys to get Sion, but before they can react, the fire extinguisher flies towards one of the guys, hitting him square in the face. The impact is forceful enough to knock him backward, dragging Joseph down with him. Joseph pushes the body away and readies himself to fight, only to see another of his men being pummeled in the foggy darkness. He charges at Sion again, but Sion blocks the attack. With a quick maneuver, Sion lets one side of the fire extinguisher drop directly onto Joseph's left foot. Joseph, struck hard, collapses and begins to scream loudly that his foot is broken. Sion calmly explains that it's the metatarsal bones above the cuneiform bone that are fractured, and Joseph won't be able to walk now. Joseph then starts to ask why Sion is doing this to him. Sion responds by outlining 3 absolute principles. First, the parent's words are absolute. Second, without the parent's permission, you must not use your power, as he punches Joseph in the face, slamming him violently to the ground. The men around him question what he's talking about, but Sion continues. The most important principle is the third. If the safety of the parents is threatened, you must disregard the other 2 principles to resolve the situation. He then breaks Joseph's left pinky finger. Sion mentions that Hyunho's mom told him Hyunho's friends are like her own children. So in that sense, they threatened his mom, which means he can destroy them. He delivers one final kick to Joseph's face, ending the fight. We then cut to a church, where a nun enters a priest's office, saying she has a call from Korea for him. The priest asks who it is, and she replies that it's the White Tiger workforce. The priest takes the phone. The voice on the other end says they believe they found him, the lost legend of Dead Mansion. Codename Sean from Project Goodchild is in Korea. Codename Sean. Among all the children created by the Dead Mansion, he was the best. Whether it was undercover efficiency, weapon skills, or assassination, he operated on an entirely different level. This made him highly sought after, especially by a Yakuza family, one of the mansion's clients. However, when the mansion delivered Sean, something went awry, and instead of arriving in Japan, he ended up in Korea. The priest, also known as the director, recalls that this event happened 5 years ago and that he had given up hope of finding Sean. But now, he thanks God for bringing the child back to him. He then instructs the sister beside him, named Rachel, to find Sean. Rachel removes her veil and tunic, revealing a large scar on her forehead. She declares that her collection process will start immediately and that she'll use force if necessary to bring Sean back. The director, observing Rachel's actions, quickly calms her down. She doesn't need to hurt Sean too much or bring those guns with her. The scene shifts to a man bowing down, introducing himself as Kwon Byung-woo, Joseph's father. He apologizes for his son's behavior, offering to cover all of Hyunho's medical expenses and fulfill any other request Hyunho's mother might have. However, Hyunho's mother, still hurt and angry, rejects his offer, stating that an apology alone won't solve the issue. Kwon Byung-woo remains silent for a moment and then, with a calm yet indifferent expression, remarks that he's surprised it didn't work. He quickly stands up, turns to leave, and when Hyunho's mother asks if that's all he came to do, he responds that efficiency is key in everything, and since she isn't willing to negotiate, there's no reason for him to stay. Hyunho's mother is shocked, but Kwon Byung-woo continues, saying he has other options to explore. As he gets into his car, he uses a handkerchief to wipe off dust, complaining about the unpleasant smell in the area. The driver then suggests tearing down the place and building something new. Kwon Byung-woo asks about the conditions to make that happen, and the driver replies that the assistant is already handling it and will update him later. In the hospital, Joseph lies in bed with his broken foot, his father standing beside him, and a nurse attending to him. Joseph begins to recount the fight, mentioning how he sensed something was wrong with Hyunho, especially when he talked about the 3 principles he had to follow. His father, uninterested, casually asks the nurse if these principles are a new teenage trend, but she remains silent. Joseph tries to continue explaining, but his father interrupts, instructing the nurse to leave the room. Once she's gone, Joseph attempts to pick up where he left off, but his father suddenly slaps him across the face. The father, now stern and cold, asks his son if he knows what angers him the most. He explains that bullying a kid to the point of forcing him to jump from a window isn't the issue, it's the fact that Joseph went to the boy's house and failed to finish the job properly that is unacceptable. He emphasizes that the basics of work are to never repeat a task and insists that Joseph should learn from this failure. The scene then shifts to Sion receiving a powerful kick to his chest, sending him staggering backward. The man who attacked him commands his subordinates to lift Sion back up. Sion, striving to stay composed, politely asks what the man is doing, but instead of an answer, the man delivers a hard slap to Sion's face, causing him to fall to the ground. The man, now towering over him with a sense of pride, taunts Sion, explaining the difference between confronting an adult and beating up 4 kids his own age. He removes his glove and throws it at Sion's head, mocking him. The man then coldly informs Sion that his young master has been left half-crippled because of him, so Sion must pay the price. One of the men grabs Sion's arm, and the leader places his foot on it, preparing to break it. In an instant, the arm cracks, and Sion screams in agony. The man walks away, leaving Sion writhing on the ground, remarking that this is how adults handle things. As the afternoon sun lowers, Sion pulls himself to his feet, wincing but resolute. He mimics the posture of the man who just attacked him, sarcastically repeating, "This is how adults deal with things." With a swift, practiced motion, he relocates his dislocated joints, noting that the man couldn't even distinguish between a broken bone and a dislocated joint. He mutters to himself that Rachel's punishments were far worse, and this minor beating is nothing by comparison. However, he acknowledges that the situation is escalating, and he's conflicted because the 3 principles prevent him from using his full strength without command. Using the beating might keep things calm for a while, but if not, he may need to assume a new identity, a prospect that doesn't excite him. As Sion exits the location, he is unexpectedly called out by Hyunho's mother. Seeing her now, Sion thinks this signals more trouble. She asks why he looks so disheveled, but he merely greets her politely. Soon after, he finds himself at Hyunho's snack shop, hesitating to eat the food she has prepared for him. Hyunho's mother insists he eat, saying he needs to consume a lot. Taking this as a command, Sion begins eating voraciously, almost unconsciously treating Hyunho's mother as if she were his own parent. She gently urges him to slow down and drink some water, concerned he might choke, and Sion obeys her. After he finishes, he thanks her for the meal, and she smiles, pleased to see he enjoyed it. With a hesitant tone, he then inquires about Hyunho's condition. She replies that the doctor said the surgery went well and that they're just monitoring him now. She believes Hyunho is strong and will recover. However, she feels frustrated and powerless while her son hovers between life and death. She confesses that she wanted to tear that boy's father to pieces out of the pain in her heart, then breaks down in tears. As she regains her composure and turns to apologize to Sion for her outburst, she realizes he's already gone, having disappeared without a trace. The scene shifts to an elegant soiree hosted by Joseph's father, who is giving a speech, expressing gratitude to his employees for their hard work. The atmosphere is celebratory, with the clinking of glasses and light chatter filling the room. A server approaches one of the guests, offering wine. The guest nods in acceptance, but in a shocking turn of events, the server smashes the bottle of wine across the guest's face, causing gasps and cries of alarm to erupt from the crowd. Nearby, a man leaps to his feet, demanding to know what's wrong with the server. Without missing a beat, the server grabs 2 glasses from his tray and, as the man charges at him, skillfully dodges the attack while hurling the glasses at the man's hands. The glasses stick to the man's hands, and he is momentarily stunned, not realizing the damage until the server, with precise and fluid motion, delivers a powerful kick to his head. The man tries to block, but the force of the kick, combined with the broken glasses, sends him reeling. Amidst the chaos, forks and knives fly through the air, landing near Sion, who deftly grabs 2 forks and a knife. As more men rush towards him, Sion launches the utensils with deadly accuracy, striking 3 men in the heads. The unexpected attack leaves the room in disarray, with guests screaming and trying to make sense of the situation. In the confusion, someone shouts for the lights to be turned on. As the lights flicker back on, the men who were attacked are still reeling, looking around for their assailant. The buzz of panic spreads as they search for the attacker, only to hear whispers that it was a blonde kid. Joseph's father, hearing this, is stunned that a child could be responsible for such carnage. Meanwhile, Sion, who was the server in disguise, has taken cover under a table, gripping the knife tightly, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The tension in the room is palpable as the guests and security search for the mysterious assailant, unaware that he's hiding right under their noses. Sion's presence at the soiree is driven by a single reason: his obedience to the person he considers his mother. Her words, expressing a desire to tear Joseph's father apart, resonate deeply with him, triggering his adherence to the first principle he follows: absolute obedience to his parents. Her indirect command compels Sion to act. As the chaos unfolds, a man spots Sion and shouts, "He's there." In response, Sion quickly grabs a tablecloth laden with dishes and throws it toward the group of men. The dishes crash onto them, creating a momentary distraction as they struggle to regain their footing. Sion seizes the opportunity, launching the table itself at them and following it up with a powerful kick. Both Sion and the table collide with the men, who cry out in pain from the impact. Suddenly, a knife is thrown from behind Sion. Sensing the danger at the last moment, he dodges just in time, and the knife narrowly misses him, embedding itself in the man standing in front of him. As Sion turns around, a man with gloves congratulates him on dodging the knife, recognizing him as the same boy whose arm he believed he had broken earlier. Before the man can continue speaking, Sion swiftly closes the distance between them, neutralizing his arm with a precise hold. He then delivers a hard punch and, with cold precision, demonstrates how to truly break an arm. The man screams in agony as his arm shatters. Suddenly, a bullet whizzes by Sion. He turns slowly to see Joseph's father holding a gun. The man, struggling to aim properly, sarcastically comments on the difficulty. Sion remarks that hitting a target from such a distance requires professional skill. The man, curious, asks if Sion is a professional and wonders if he's part of some Korean crew, something he heard teenagers were doing. Sion, unfazed, responds that he knows nothing of what the man is saying, but if he's asking about his affiliation, he's from Hyunho's snack shop. Joseph's father, recognizing the name as the cheap snack shop from earlier, presses the gun to Sion's head and asks if the woman there ordered him to kill him. Sion, with a focused look, calmly replies that she wanted him to tear the man to pieces. Surprised by the answer, the man hesitates, and Sion takes advantage of the moment to disarm him, hitting him hard in the face. As the man clings to Sion's clothes to stop himself from falling, he questions what this is all about, noting that it doesn't seem like revenge or payback. Sion, with a violent punch to the man's face, reiterates the first principle: a parent's word is absolute. The man, now on the ground, listens as Sion prepares to leave. But before Sion can exit, the man warns him that efficiency is crucial in any work and that he should have dealt with them earlier. He promises to kill them all next time. Sion, calmly turning back, shoots the chandelier above him and says that he shouldn't have said that. As it falls, he recites the third principle: if a parent's safety is in danger, ignore the other two principles and resolve the situation. The chandelier crashes down on the man, and as Sion walks away, he remarks, "Like father, like son." At the hospital, Joseph lies in bed, clearly in pain, as a nurse checks on him. She asks if he feels uncomfortable, mentioning how school violence has become quite frightening these days. She notes that it's the first time she's seen someone so badly hurt from such an incident and wonders if the other guy was good at fighting. Joseph nods, agreeing that it hurt a lot, but his eyes seem preoccupied with something else. The nurse, holding a syringe, casually asks what he and his father were talking about earlier. She heard them discussing the three principles and administers the medication as she asks. Joseph, noticing the unusual color of the medicine, questions what it is. The nurse, with a calm yet unsettling demeanor, tells him not to worry, assuring him that he won't die from just half of it. As she says this, she begins to remove her mask and wig, revealing her true identity. It's Rachel, the sister and trainer from Dead Mansion. Known for her expertise in disguise, undercover work, interrogation, and torture, Rachel has found her way into Joseph's hospital room, ready to carry out her mission. A moment later, Rachel is on the phone with the director, standing at the scene where Sion, also known as codename Sean, left a trail of destruction. She reports to the director that Sean exerted force, which immediately alarms him. He asks for clarification, and she explains that they tracked Sean to this location, but by the time they arrived, he was gone, leaving behind several seriously injured adult men. The director is visibly shaken. He emphasizes that such behavior is unprecedented in the history of Dead Mansion, The three absolute principles are called absolute for a reason, and Sion should have been incapable of breaking them. This breach of protocol is deeply concerning, and the director suggests that if Sion is indeed violating these principles, it could indicate a malfunction that might extend to other weapons they've sold, posing a threat to the mansion. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the director changes Rachel's objective. The new priority is to investigate Sion, determine why he's acting against the principles, and confirm if he truly used force without permission. He authorizes Rachel to enlist the White Tiger workforce if necessary. As Rachel updates her position, mentioning she's with the smoker and barcode head, two men approach her, expressing disbelief that a middle schooler could have caused such carnage. Rachel, still focused on her task, acknowledges the director's instructions to observe Sion and ends the call. Without speaking to the two men, Rachel leaves the scene. One of the men grumbles about the indecent outfits kids wear these days, and the other notes that Rachel is Russian and that Russians tend to be more open-minded, citing his own wife as an example. They continue chatting, with one noting that their manager is often absent during critical moments, but the other corrects him, stating that their boss had actually assigned him another task. The next morning, Rachel enters a school calmly. Having completed her preliminary investigation on Sion, she knows this is his school. On paper, his parents are abroad, but they are actually unidentified fake parents. Disguised as a teacher, Rachel is warmly greeted by the students. She wonders what Sion is doing here and feels a mix of excitement and curiosity about how he has grown up over the years. Back then, he was the best of all the children she taught, mastering every weapon with perfection. She finds it hard to believe he has grown up without missions. As Rachel arrives in front of Sion's classroom window, she sees a blonde boy telling his classmates about how he beat up Joseph. He mocks Joseph, imitating his apologies and blaming himself for the situation. Rachel is surprised to see Sion behaving this way. Is this really Sion, the vulgar child boasting about his exploits? Sion continues to brag about scaring Joseph until a big guy behind him tells him to stop talking because he's trying to sleep. Angered by the interruption, both boys stand up, glaring at each other. Rachel, watching the scene, wonders if this is a hierarchical fight, reminiscent of the ones in Dead Mansion where children fought to establish a hierarchy of strength. Sion was undoubtedly the strongest among the children back then, but here, he seems easily dominated by the other boy, which perplexes Rachel. Sion, on the verge of tears, apologizes to the other boy as he stamps his foot. Rachel feels disappointed. She enters the classroom and starts the lesson. Reflecting on the earlier scene, she thinks that Sion must have been playing a part to hide his true identity, not carelessly showing off his strength. This makes her wonder if he is still under the influence of the three principles. She decides she needs to observe him a bit longer. When she looks at him, she sees Sion intensely focused, which gives her hope. Sion was not only the strongest but also the most intelligent of the children. He was always the most outstanding. He may be capable of hiding his power, but not his brilliance. Feeling a spark of happiness, she approaches him, expecting to see signs of his hidden intellect. But when she looks at his notebook, she realizes he's been focused on drawing a silly picture. Sion is proud of his work, but Rachel is disgusted. She slaps him on the head with the book she's holding, telling him to stop. A moment later, in the women's restroom, Rachel sits overwhelmed with disbelief. The boy she saw cannot be the Sion she knew. His face matches, but there is nothing elegant or disciplined about him. She begins to doubt if this boy is truly Sion. It seems impossible that Sion could have become such an immature kid. Trying to get to the truth, Rachel decides to change her plans. This is no longer about protecting the three principles. She must find out for sure if this boy is really Sion. Taking on another disguise, she walks away with new resolve. As the school day ends, Cheyenne rubs his head where Rachel had hit him earlier. Unbeknownst to him, Rachel is quietly following behind, her thoughts filled with dark intentions. She resolves that if this child isn't Sion, she'll take matters into her own hands and kill him. From behind, a familiar voice calls out to Cheyenne. It's Hyunho's mother. She greets him warmly and asks if he can help carry some bags. Without hesitation, Cheyenne agrees, his demeanor instantly obedient. She thanks him and mentions that while he's at the shop, he should eat some tteokbokki, to which he agrees eagerly. Rachel watches the interaction with keen interest, wondering who this woman could be. When they arrive at the shop, Cheyenne devours the food voraciously, with Hyunho's mother gently reminding him to slow down and eat carefully. Cheyenne, in his usual manner, agrees without question. As Rachel observes the scene, she pieces together the identity of the woman. Rachel is perplexed by the connection between Cheyenne and the mother of the boy Joseph put into a coma. Despite the boy's resemblance to Sion, the lack of refinement and childish behavior from Cheyenne causes her to doubt if this boy could truly be Sion, the paragon of discipline and strength she once knew. Her suspicions grow stronger, leading her to believe her initial instincts might have been wrong. In the midst of this, Rachel suddenly exclaims that the food is too spicy and demands water frantically. Hyunho's mother calmly hands her a bottle, commenting that Rachel seems to have a low tolerance for spice. Rachel is incredulous, feeling that the food is unbearably hot, almost torturous. She ponders whether Koreans are crazy for making food so spicy, likening it to poison or an assassination attempt. Cheyenne observes her reaction and casually remarks that she should have eaten more slowly, suggesting that she must be quite clumsy. Rachel glares at him with murderous intent, silently vowing to kill him and ensure it is done properly. However, a memory flashes back. Sean also struggled with spicy food. Rachel used to hold his hand when he was having trouble with it. This makes her wonder if Sean is still in Korea, struggling with spicy food. Rachel notices Cheyenne's hand trembling slightly, though he tries to hide it. Hyunho's mother asks Cheyenne if he enjoyed the food, and he responds with a smile, saying it was delicious. Rachel starts to reconsider her initial impression. Perhaps Cheyenne is holding back, she thinks. Why would he force himself to eat something he can't handle? This observation makes her think that maybe, beneath the surface, there is still a part of the Sean she knew. Rachel begins to piece together the clues. Cheyenne's immediate compliance with Hyunho's mother's requests, such as helping carry a box and eating the tteokbokki, indicates that he follows her commands without question. If Cheyenne is indeed Sean, it would align with the first principle: a parent's word is absolute. This realization leads Rachel to conclude that Cheyenne must see this woman as a parental figure, making everything fit together in her mind. Determined to test her theory, Rachel pays for her meal. While Hyunho's mother looks for change, Rachel quickly devises a plan. She subtly throws a stick towards Hyunho's mother with the intent to kill her and confirm Cheyenne's reaction. The stick is intercepted midair by a fork wielded by Cheyenne. Cheyenne then swiftly confronts Rachel, who is pleased to see her theory confirmed. Cheyenne grabs Rachel and knocks over a chair in the process, surprising Hyunho's mother. By the time she turns around, both Cheyenne and Rachel have vanished, leaving her bewildered by their sudden disappearance. In a secluded alley, Rachel tries to stab Cheyenne with the stick, her voice cold as she recites the third principle of the Dead Mansion: if a parent's safety is threatened, ignore the other two principles and resolve the situation. Cheyenne, quick and agile, dodges her attack and counters with a swift punch, causing Rachel to stumble. Without hesitation, Cheyenne grabs her arms, his eyes blazing with anger. "Are you going to keep following me, Rachel?" he demands, clearly recognizing her true identity. Rachel, despite the gravity of the situation, breaks into a wide smile, genuinely thrilled. "Sean," she greets him warmly, finally dropping the pretense. Rachel, still on top of Cheyenne, is perplexed by his unwavering attention towards the woman from the snack shop as if she were his parent. She remarks that it's implausible for a woman running a small snack shop to be a client of the Dead Mansion. Cheyenne, maintaining a calm exterior but with his mind racing, responds that he doesn't understand what she's talking about. Rachel attempts to break free from his hold, realizing that she may have acted prematurely. She hadn't anticipated him recognizing her so quickly. Deciding to act decisively, Rachel suddenly throws him to the ground with a violent maneuver. Cheyenne feels the impact and the sharp pain as Rachel pins him down. With authority, Rachel commands him to follow her home, stating that there are many clients waiting for him. As she speaks, Cheyenne is overwhelmed with a flood of memories. He recalls his life at the mansion, the rigorous training and cold, calculated environment. But then, an unfamiliar memory surfaces, a woman with black hair holding him, her voice soft as she says, "From now on, your name is Park Cheyenne." Snapping back to the present, Cheyenne is momentarily disoriented, unsure of the origin of this unfamiliar memory. Noticing his distraction, Rachel asks what he just said. Seizing the opportunity, Cheyenne delivers a powerful headbutt, catching Rachel off guard and freeing himself from her grip. Rachel is stunned, her nose beginning to bleed. As she wipes away the blood, her expression hardens, realizing he won't surrender quietly. In that split second of hesitation, Cheyenne bolts down a nearby alley. Filled with disbelief and anxiety, Cheyenne races away, shocked that Rachel, one of the Dead Mansion's best, was sent after him. He grapples with the identity of the woman in his memory, trying to piece together his fragmented past. Meanwhile, the director receives a call from Rachel, who reports that she has lost Sean. As she enters a room to change clothes, she brusquely pushes past a woman. The director, frustrated, expresses his anger. Rachel apologizes, admitting she let her guard down for a moment but shares promising news. She has identified an old woman who appears to be controlling Sean through the use of the three principles. The director, confused, asks Rachel to clarify what she means by controlling him. Rachel explains that Sion seems to regard this woman as a parent, meaning he obeys her every command. The director questions whether the old woman is intentionally manipulating Sion using the principles. Rachel responds that she needs to confirm this, but it doesn't seem intentional. The director instructs her to investigate the woman further. As Rachel exits the dressing room, the woman she had pushed earlier exclaims in surprise, insulting Rachel as the young girl who cut the line but now seems to be someone else. The woman stares in disbelief, unable to understand the transformation. Meanwhile, the director reflects on the situation, contemplating the two methods to retrieve a child from their parents. The scene shifts to Hyunho's mother, who is puzzled and trying to understand what Rachel is saying. Rachel, sternly, tells her to stay away from Sion, explaining that even if she is his mother, she is often away on business trips. Rachel expresses her disbelief that someone like this old woman could be considered a parent to Sion, especially when he can't even handle spicy food. Hyunho's mother, now realizing Sion's struggle with spicy food, listens as Rachel continues. Rachel is pleased with herself, sensing guilt beginning to take root in the woman's heart. Rachel presses on, telling Hyunho's mom that she knows Sion listens to her, but as an adult, she must take responsibility. If Sion returns, she must tell him never to come back and go home. Confident in her manipulation, Rachel turns and starts walking away, expecting compliance. However, Hyunho's mom firmly states she will not follow Rachel's request. With a mix of concern and defiance, she questions whether Rachel truly understands Sion's situation. She points out that if Rachel is often away, she might not be aware of Sion's state. She explains that Sion always appears in messy clothes with a dirty face, and she had believed his excuses. She doesn't want Sion to end up like her own son, Hyunho. She has taken it upon herself to look after Sion whenever she could, feeling a responsibility to care for him when no one else seemed to. She declares that if his mother cannot care for him, she will. Rachel, her composure breaking, demands to know who Hyunho's mom thinks she is, making such declarations. Before Rachel can continue, Hyunho's mom bows and apologizes but firmly states she cannot comply with Rachel's request. Fuming with anger, Rachel leaves without another word. Later that night, Rachel finds herself in a dark alley, changing clothes and blending into the shadows. Once finished, she calls the director, her tone cold and controlled. She reports her failure. The old woman was too stubborn and insisted on her role as Sion's guardian. The director, without hesitation, tells her there is no other option but to resolve the situation quietly using the second method. Rachel accepts the order without question, knowing the second method involves eliminating the current guardian. If successful, Sion would have no choice but to return to the dead mansion. The next day, Hyunho's mom shops at the supermarket, unaware she is being followed. Rachel, disguised with a cap, trails her, a detonator clutched in her hand. Seething with resentment, Rachel wonders who this old woman thinks she is, daring to take Sion away. With cold determination, she presses the button, and a bomb planted earlier detonates in the supermarket. Chaos erupts as people scream and flee, the sprinklers activate, and the air fills with thick mist. Amid the confusion, Hyunho's mom stands frozen in shock. Rachel, hidden in the fog, aims a gun at her, muttering that this woman could never be Sion's parent and that she will not allow it. Just as she is about to fire, Sion appears out of nowhere, blocking the bullet with a frying pan he has grabbed from a nearby aisle. The bullet ricocheted off, startling Rachel. Instead of anger, a smile spread across her face. She was thrilled to see Sion again, knowing he was still capable and strong. Sion, still holding the frying pan, remarked that he had seen this tactic in a video game but never expected it to work in real life. He acknowledged Rachel's skill but questioned the necessity of using bombs and guns. Rachel, unfazed, told him not to interfere. She was there to free him from the old woman. As she aimed her gun at Hyunho's mom again, Sion quickly pushed over a nearby shelf, forcing Rachel to dodge. Sion reminded her of the third principle, one that Rachel didn't need to hear to understand. She sighed, expressing her disappointment that she had hoped to take him back unharmed. Drawing a knife, she lunged at him, and for a moment, it seemed like blood splattered on the ground. But it was just a can of tomato sauce Sion had used to shield himself. He warned her that he couldn't let her leave unscathed now. Tossing the empty can aside, he tried to knee her, but Rachel, confident as ever, asked if he really thought he could take down his own teacher. With a swift movement, she swept his legs out from under him, sending him crashing into the shelves. Standing over him, Rachel taunted that this was a supplementary lesson, challenging him to understand the purpose of their fight. She knew she had the upper hand, confident in her superior skills. Meanwhile, Hyunho's mom, still trying to comprehend the chaos, heard a child crying nearby. The child was frantically calling for his mother, his voice trembling with fear. Compassion overriding her confusion, Hyunho's mom approached him and gently asked where his mother was and if he was hurt. The boy continued to plead for his mom, his eyes wide with desperation. As she leaned in to comfort him, a glint in his hand caught her eye, a hidden knife. Rachel stood before Sion, announcing that it was time for supplementary lessons. She then questioned the purpose of their fight, leaving Sion momentarily puzzled. As he tried to understand, Rachel suddenly attacked him with a knife. He narrowly dodged her strike, but she charged at him again with renewed intensity. During their fight, Sion asked her why they were there. Rachel revealed that it was part of a plan to free him. As Sion blocked her next attack, he glanced toward Hyunho's mother and began to understand the situation. Rachel warned him not to get distracted in the middle of the fight. Switching the knife to her left hand, she slashed at him. Despite his effort to evade the attack, she managed to cut him on the cheek. Sion stepped back, acknowledging that fighting Rachel with bare hands was proving too difficult. In a desperate move, he grabbed some cans nearby and threw them at her. Rachel effortlessly blocked the projectiles and coldly explained that as long as they dealt with the old woman, Sion would fall back under the dead mansion's control. She emphasized that they viewed him and others as mere products in the end. The word product echoed in Sion's mind as Rachel closed in on him. She continued, urging him to return home with her. Despite the overwhelming odds, Sion's resolve hardened as he prepared to fight back, determined not to be just another tool in their plans. Sion threw a bag of flour at Rachel. She sliced through it with one clean cut, causing the flour to explode and fill the space around them. Momentarily stunned by the flour cloud, Rachel muttered her frustration, questioning the use of flour in their fight. Out of the floury mist, Sion suddenly appeared, scissors in hand, aiming for her head. Rachel narrowly avoided the strike, but he managed to cut a few strands of her hair. Seizing the moment, Sion pressed forward, attacking her with renewed determination. Rachel, seeing his resolve, appeared pleased and encouraged him, recognizing the fighter she knew. Rachel attempted to strike him with her knife, but Sion blocked the attack with the scissors. As she struggled to counter his unwavering defense, she thought to herself that he wasn't giving an inch. Sion advanced, confronting her about her earlier comment referring to them as products. He grabbed Rachel and placed her in a cart, questioning how anyone could call their family products. With a forceful kick, he sent the cart crashing into another one. Rachel found herself trapped as Sion locked the carts together. As he walked away, he taunted her, suggesting that she, rather than them, was more of a product. Rachel screamed his name in desperation, but Sion remained indifferent, focused on his own path as he left her behind. Back with the child and Hyunho's mother, she gasped in alarm and rushed to the child, asking if he was okay. Turning around, she shouted loudly, demanding to know if the child's parents were nowhere to be found. In the chaos, the boy seized the opportunity to show his knife, trying to stab her. Suddenly, Sion appeared from behind, calling out to his mother and asking if she was all right. She was taken aback by his sudden appearance and noticed his disheveled clothes. Concerned, she questioned why he wasn't in class and if he had been hurt again. The little kid, observing the scene, recognized Sion and thought to himself that Sion's face was unmistakable. He realized that the legendary figure of the dead mansion had arrived and wondered if this meant Rachel had been defeated. Sion turned to Hyunho's mother and asked about the child. She explained that the child said he lost his mother and suggested they should take him out of the area first. Sion then crouched next to the child and asked if he knew his parents' phone number. The child replied that he didn't know it. The child thought taking on Sion was too risky and decided to aim for his target. He stood up and ran toward his supposed target, asking Hyunho's mother to help look for his mom. He planned to use her motherly instincts to get closer to his real target. However, Sion grabbed the child from behind, pulling him close. He told the child there was no need to cry and commented that kids who looked dumb were often disliked. With a more serious tone, Sion placed a finger on the child's neck, making the child think he might have a gun. Sion then told the child to stay still and mentioned that he needed to have a conversation with the director. He asked if the child still had the direct line to him. The child, trying to hide his knife, feigned ignorance and insisted he didn't know what Sion was talking about. Sion noticed the knife and hit the child on the back of the head, making the weapon fall to the ground. Hyunho's mother, hearing the commotion, turned around and asked if she had heard something. Sion dismissed it, saying he didn't hear anything. Turning his attention back to the child, Sion noticed he had fallen asleep. He commented on how tired the child must be, implying that the exhaustion was a result of recent events. Once outside, Sion and Hyunho's mother see firefighters assisting people. Still searching for answers, Hyunho's mother wonders aloud where the child's mother could be. Sion notices the child's phone and tells her he'll make a call later. The scene shifts to the mansion, where the director is jolted awake by the ringing phone. Annoyed, he grumbles about being called so early, having specifically instructed not to use the direct line. When he answers, he recognizes Sean's voice on the other end and is surprised to hear from him. Sean taunts the director, suggesting that he thought Rachel and a child would be enough to capture him. The director inquires if Rachel and Eugene have been defeated. Sean responds with disdain, stating that no matter who or how many are sent against him, the outcome will be the same. He challenges the director to keep trying if he wishes. The director expresses his surprise, stating he thought Sean would simply run away, and asks if Sean plans to confront the dead mansion directly. Sean dismisses the idea of running as laughable, declaring that if his parents' safety is at stake, he will ignore principles and confront the situation head-on. He refers to the third principle, indicating he considers the dead mansion a threat and is determined to break through the current situation. Overwhelmed, the director falls to his knees and begins praying, praising Sean's adherence to the three principles. He marvels at the purity and beauty of Sean's resolve. The director then proposes a deal: if Sean sends Eugene back, they will not harm the old woman. Sean agrees, but with the condition that Rachel must come herself in an hour. He hangs up, and the director, reflecting on Sean's purity, eagerly anticipates their reunion, referring to Sean as his treasure. At Hyunho's snack shop, Sean shakes Eugene awakes. Eugene quickly springs into a defensive position, reaching for his knife, but Sean stops him, saying he took the knife a long time ago. He instructs Eugene to sit quietly and eat, noting that he probably hasn't had anything to eat. Eugene grumbles about the food, questioning who would eat it. Later that day, Sean and Eugene walk together to meet Rachel for their appointment. Sean asks Eugene if he enjoyed the food, to which Eugene responds negatively. Sean, with a joking expression, insists that Eugene ate everything. As they approach the meeting spot, Sean spots Rachel at the top of the stairs and tells Eugene to go to her. Sean asks Rachel to take the bag he's holding, mentioning that the kid seemed to like it. Rachel, observing Sean's relaxed demeanor, comments that she hasn't given up on him yet and will visit again soon. Sean insists they take the bag, saying Eugene is at an age where he should be eating a lot. Rachel ignores him, and as they part ways, she tells Eugene that things would have been much easier if he had taken care of the old woman and warns him that he will be disposed of from now on. Sean overhears this and stops in his tracks. Rachel continues, expressing regret that useless kids weren't dealt with sooner. Eugene trembles, apologizing profusely. Sean returns to them, holding the bag, and asks Eugene one last time if the food really didn't taste good. Eugene hesitates but eventually admits that it was, in fact, good. Sean confirms this and praises Hyunho's place, then suggests they both go back to the snack shop.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed it and share with your friends. See you in the next video. Bye for now.